What's going on, guys? Cassie from Jeep Gear and Gadgets, and welcome back to the LS Swap video series. In my last video, we got the engine and the transmission installed inside of the Jeep, and in this video, we have a bunch more projects we're gonna get done in order to get like 5 steps closer to firing this thing up for the very first time. So the first project I'm going to tackle tonight is going to be the transfer case. In my last video, I installed the advanced adapter's transmission adapter, and in this video, we're going to be opening up the transfer case and installing a new input shaft. And while I have the transfer case open, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the advanced adapter Slip Yoke Eliminator. This is gonna get rid of our slip yoke and just make this a much stronger setup. Now, enough talking for now. We're gonna go ahead and get this transfer case open. I'm kind of excited because I've never completely opened up a transfer case before, so this will be for my first time. Kind of excited to see what it looks like on the inside. So let's go ahead and get this thing open and get this project rolling. First step was to loosen the front yoke and all the bolts that hold the halves together. With the case apart, it's time to take off the input shaft cover. Then remove the retaining rings. Oh, sorry, did you hit your hands?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Snap ring off. And pull out the internals. Now, it's time to swap out the input shaft. So we got the transfer case open and pretty much disassembled the entire front half of the transfer case. Went ahead and took out my old Jeep Transfercase 23 spline input and replaced it with the advanced adapter's 27 spline input. Now this is going to allow the transfer case to go right into the GM transmission. This part is now done. We're gonna put all this back together, move over to the back half of the transfer case and get that slip yoke eliminator in. So it was pretty simple to put the new input in. Advanced adapters provided pretty much step-by-step instructions, so it really wasn't that hard. Now, if I already had a slip yoke eliminator, I could go ahead and bolt this transfer case back together and throw it under the Jeep. But I have gotten away with not having a slip yoke eliminator up until this point. So if you have an old XJ, YJ, TJ, or an old LJ like me, you're pretty much gonna need a slip yoke eliminator at any point if you have a lift on your Jeep. So we are going to move on to the second half of the transfer case, or the back half of the transfer case, and get this slip yoke eliminator from Advanced Adapters put in. They come with step-by-step instructions as well, and these are even colored pictures. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that rolling. And after I get it installed, I can kind of go over the benefits of like having a slip yoke eliminator so I can actually show you guys kind of what it does. So let's get going. First thing we're gonna do is put together this new tail housing. I've got the new bearing right here that was in the freezer up until this point. And then Advanced Adapters also provides like a tool to tap the bearing down into place. And once we get the bearing in, we're gonna throw this seal in. Let's pretend that Ben didn't do that one.
Too tight.
It was too tight, I couldn't get it. I tried though, I tried. All right, transfer case. The second half of this install is not going to be step by step. We are going to keep it moving because if it was, this whole video would be on slip yoke eliminators and I have way too much to do to just be about that. So Advanced Adapters provides phenomenal instructions. Follow them if you're using this kit. So from here, I'm just gonna get to it. Ready, Ben?
Yeehaw.
Yeah. We're keeping that.
Yeehaw, baby. Oh no. Everybody's in bed, always drinking beer.
Where's my pizza? I just want food. The slip yoke eliminator install is pretty easy. We remove the factory transfer case output and the oil pump, and then remove everything from the output shaft and put it back on the new one. The last step is to reinstall the internals, seal the case with RTV, and finish up the job.
Lights, camera, action.
All right, guys, so we got the transfer case put back together. We've got the new 27 spline input shaft put in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Skip a few, 27?
27.
I didn't count them, so I hope you're right. And we also got the new Slip Yoke Eliminator installed as well. This is a super simple project. You can do it in your own garage. I didn't go over how to do it step by step because there's already tons of videos out there already. But I do want to talk about the Slip Yoke Eliminator real quick. So a lot of older Jeeps, they have these slip yokes. So basically, we've got our old style drive shaft here, and the slip is on the output shaft. Whereas a fixed yoke or a slip yoke eliminator, the slip is going to be on the drive shaft. Now another difference is that this old style setup only has 2 U-joints, one on each side, where this shaft, a double cardan drive shaft, has 2 U-joints on one side and 1 U-joint on the other. So why do I want to go with this setup? So when you lift your Jeep, your drive shaft angle gets worse. And with the slip yoke eliminator and the double cardan drive shaft, you can just point your pinion angle right at the output of your transfer case and boom, you're done. You're not gonna have any crazy vibrations. Whereas with this old setup, you do that, you're gonna have some vibrations in there. So not only do I have a stronger setup with this, I should have a pretty smooth ride. But with that being said, let's move on to the next step. The next step is going to be mounting the transmission. Now in my last video, I got the motor mounts tack welded in, and in between videos, I pulled the engine out, hopped in the engine bay with the welder, welded both mounts on, put the engine back inside the Jeep and mounted it. So the engine is mounted and good to go. It's time to move on to the transmission mount, which I think I've got a pretty easy fix for. I'm going with another product from Advanced Adapters. They make a ton of cool products for this swap. So right here, I have got their transmission mount. It's really neat, it's universal. What we're gonna do is we're going to slide this onto the studs of the transfer case, and then this is going to hold up the transmission. So I've already modified it a little bit. I've decided after I kind of mounted this up, I'm going to keep my factory skid plate on there for the time being just to make it easy. And I took my old stock mount that went under the skid plate onto the transmission, and I welded it onto the Advanced Adapters mount, and this lines up perfectly with my factory skid. So this is how we are going to mount the transmission for now. It'll work until I want to do a belly tuck later on down the road. So the first step into getting this on and getting all this mounted is I have to replace the studs that are on the transfer case with some longer ones, since we're putting this thick bracket on. Now I tried using vice grips to get these out, but they are in there really good. So I'm gonna crack the welder out, weld these nuts on, and pull these studs out. The powertrain is officially mounted. I'm gonna try and show you guys under the Jeep how we got that done. So right there, we've got the Advanced Adapters transmission mount and leads right down to the stock mount, which leads right through to our skid plate. So pretty easy system. Eventually we'll get rid of this crazy skid plate that hangs down super low, but one project at a time. So next steps are going to be measuring for drive shafts, calling it a night, because tomorrow it is time to start working on the engine wiring harness right over here.
Ooh, let's fire this thing up and do some burnouts.
It's finally coming along, right? Engine mounted, check. Transmission mounted, check. Transfer case in there, mounted, check. Skid plate up and on, check. Lots to do.
We're finally on the stages where it's just like kind of finishing up.
It's all the like finishing
Everybody's like,
touches.
what about the wiring, man?
What about the wiring?
Well, let me see. All right, see this wire mess over here? All you have to do is grab this one, your yellow wire, and you do not want to connect it to the blue wire. This yellow wire to your red wire. You ready? That's so lame.
If only it was that simple. You are done. It's too late. I'm done. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Time to take a look at the wiring harness. Now I went with a standalone kit or a standalone wiring harness. I got it off of eBay. It was 270 bucks. It is pretty much a like direct knockoff of a PSI harness. I mean, they even sent a PSI like harness instruction manual. So
They literally printed out somebody's instructions. They copied the kit. They copied the kit, and then
Sent that. So I
printed
mean,
out their instructions.
we're gonna see if it's any good, but it was budget friendly, so we are going to give it a shot. I also went with a GM computer for a 5.3 4L60E. Got it pre-programmed with my VIN number. Also got the vehicle anti-theft system removed and some other things taken off of it. So it was 140 bucks off of eBay. This is definitely a budget-friendly option if you're looking to go that route. However, if you have to like pass any state emission standards, this will not work for you. You're gonna have to go with a factory harness and computer from like a GM factory harness, or like an aftermarket kit from Novak. I think they have the emission plugs in there. So luckily I don't have to worry about that. So I'm gonna go with this setup. Now, if I didn't have to worry about emissions, or if I didn't really care about budget, I would definitely go with a Holley Terminator kit. That's a phenomenal setup. It's a really great computer and it's self-tuning. So now that we have talked about all of that, it's time to get this harness over on the engine. So we are not gonna look at this side in this video. We are going to avoid it for now. But here we are going to get the harness on the engine, kind of plug and play everything, and just kind of lay it out and get it all neat as we can on the engine. So
Everybody's excited about the wiring part.
I know, we're gonna do another video. I'm gonna pretend like that's not there right now. I don't wanna worry about that tonight.
We should have just told everybody it's a PSI kit.
270 bucks.
I think the PSI is what, like 570? I don't know.
Say 300 bucks, a budget friendly. Let's get it in. Pretty much got everything plugged in that I could at this point. So we got the fuel injectors, the coil packs, the throttle body, the alternator, the map sensor,
Flux capacitor.
the flux capacitor. The flux capacitor is not plugged in yet. Not sure what we would use it for.
No, that's actually 2 cylinders. That's the flux capacitor.
Anyway, Ben is on his last beer, which means it is time to wrap up this video. Whoa, it is really dark right here. I will be doing a full wiring video, just not in this one. So over here we've got 2 things we're gonna be plugging into the computer, some fuses and relays. This is gonna be going to our new throttle, not our new throttle, our new gas pedal. Our new gas pedal, throttle pusher. And then this part is going to be what we're going to be wiring up to the Jeep computer, which will be a fun video to try and explain. So lots to come.
I'll
and
explain it.
aside from wiring, yes, he will. Aside from wiring, we still need to get the intake on, figure out the exhaust, get the new radiator on. So we made a lot of I can't talk, video's over. Made a lot of progress tonight.
We just ended it right there.
Have a lot more to do.
End.
Done. Maybe in the next video, if we can get this wiring done, we can actually test fire this thing. So that is the goal. As always, guys, everything I used in the video will be in the video description below. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and my name's Cassie, and keep Jeep and classy.